Hey guys, what's up? It's Sean, Autotopia LA. If you don't know this guy, this is my friend Chris Ashton from RUFFIAN Cars. This is the first time we're shooting a car of yours that you didn't build.
Right, yeah, it's my personal car. So I bought it and then we did some work on it.
Gas Monkey did this, right?
Yes, Gas Monkey did it, season 10, episode 1 and 2. 2016, that was when I was in my garage building my 70 Mustang. And this was one of the cars that was in one of the episodes that I was watching while I was building my Mustang. Fast forward 2021, it just shows up on eBay. I bought it in 21 with intent to make it streetable because they built it, stripped everything out of it except for making it a drag car. I built the Mustang, I built the GT40, I started the shop. About 2 months ago, we finally got to it and did all the work necessary to make it where I could drive it on the street. It's a 1967 Dodge Dart GT. According to the episode, he bought it because when he was a teenager, he would deliver papers. It was like his old man's car. So he would deliver papers in it. He wanted one, so then he bought it with intent to build it and make it a cool like street car.
Right.
And then the roadkill guys challenged them to a drag off, you know, a build off. The intent was to an 1/8 mile drag car. And so they built General Mayhem with the HELLCAT motor in it, and Gas Monkey Garage built the Dart with the HELLCAT motor in it. 2016, this is brand new HELLCATs.
Right. Yeah.
So no standalone harnesses. Nobody knew how to make them work in a hot rod. This was the first car ever to be on like a standalone stripped out harness. And it was also the first HELLCAT to be attached to a Power Glide transmission.
Got it.
But we've had to go, you know, and redo some of that. So now there's better stuff.
I love how they cut the hood, by the way, to leave the blower exposed. It's
right?
Bitchin'.
Yeah, I mean, there's people kind of talk bad about a lot of the garages that build stuff on television and how behind the scenes, you know, but I'm actually quite impressed with all the stuff that Gas Monkey did on the car. So they cut out the firewall. It got pushed quite a ways back. Yeah. But at a glance, you don't even notice it because this stuff is sort of painted. They didn't have to do that, right? They spent some extra time to make this stuff actually look nice. Even small things, they had to cut the hole in the hood, but you see these little pieces of filler plates that they welded in there just so it wouldn't flap around with the bracing and stuff and make it a little more rigid.
Boy, this thing's rowdy, huh?
It is. And that's one of the things I love about it though, is it's a ratty old car. The darts just aren't valuable. They're not sought after. I think this is a perfect thing to do with a Dart, is build a gnarly fast. It's almost a sleeper, but clearly the car guys will see the supercharger and they know what a HELLCAT looks like, and they'll see the big fat tires in the back.
Of course.
For me, it's a lot of fun because it is kind of a contrast to like the Galaxy or anything that we build, which is like the paint's super nice. Like you're careful of everything, right? Like this, you don't care.
Okay, so HELLCAT, is it a stock 707 HELLCAT?
They did do the ATI damper. It's a little bit larger diameter, so it overdrives the supercharger. Supposed to make about 60 more horsepower. Okay. They also converted to run E85, and we went back on that because it's hard to find gas stations around where I'm at that have E85. And Mopar makes a standalone HELLCAT harness now for putting HELLCATs into hot rods and stuff. It's made to run gasoline, not E85. I just wanted to plug that computer in and drive the car. We had to switch the fuel injectors back to stock. We left the pulley on it. It's good for 93 octane, so I just put octane boost in it. So it should be making like 760 now, 770, somewhere around there. And it weighs 3,200 pounds, so it scoots. The crazy thing about this is a 2.6 liter supercharger. Just the blower is 2.6 liters. This car will absolutely destroy the tires. First or second gear on the Power Glide, does not care. It lights them up like an electric car. Like it's just all torque instantly whenever. Like it's one-to-one with your throttle pedal. So as soon as we swapped it over to the standalone kit and stuff and I drove it, like I have a completely new respect for HELLCAT.
So this mates up, you said, to it's a Power Glides. That's just 2-speed, right?
Yeah.
Again, because it's drag race, right? So it's just go.
I've never had a Power Glide before, and my impression from them is that it's a 2-speed. You just spend less time shifting. If you have a lot of power, you have a lot of torque. like going through the quarter mile, you spend less time shifting, it's quicker.
Yeah.
It does have a high stall torque converter. It's, I don't know, 3,500.
But you said you're ordering, because you're street driving it, you're gonna order a Gear Vendors, or you already
Gear Vendors Overdrive, yeah, I ordered one, I called them, talked to them, just for highway. Because this thing right now at about 62, 63 miles an hour is $3,000. I'd like to drop it a little bit so I can just cruise.
Yeah, because I mean, flow of traffic here is either not moving or you're up at pretty good speeds. I mean, Southern California, everyone's rolling at 75.
And most of the cars and coffees and stuff where places I like to go, I'm gonna have to jump on the highway.
Yeah. What does it go to the rear end on this one?
It's a 411 and it's a Ford 9-inch. They did a full back half of the chassis, so new frame rails, non-parallel 4 links, real drag suspension. So there's no rear sway bar in it. The only thing that keeps it level is like this diagonal link. So it's not great for the street, going up driveways and stuff like that. It puts a lot of stress on it. What I wanted to do is keep it as much drag race as I could, but make it streetable.
This is a unibody car, isn't it? Or are these full frame cars?
It's a unibody, yeah, and it would have had the torsion bars in the front. So it's got a K-member in the front, you can see down there, a manual rack and pinion and coilovers. That's all been added and all the factory stuff ripped out. And they've got big subframe connectors going from the front subframe to the new rear frame rails.
Okay, so they actually went pretty deep on this car then.
Yeah, and I suspect they, had to do the K-member to be able to fit the HELLCAT in there as well, make that easier. I'm used to driving cars like corner carvers.
Yeah.
So I had to retrain myself to just slow down for the corners in this car because it's got skinnies up front. And I could hear them squealing sometimes when I was turning. And then also, it's a non-power rack and pinion. If it's a quarter-mile car or eighth-mile car, you just worry about going straight. So the steering is really heavy.
Yeah, I would imagine. Then it's full manual steering.
Yes. Yeah, and the HELLCAT weight is...
With that weight up there,
yeah.
wow.
So
okay,
you do have to... So I just take my time.
Sure.
In the turns, and
sure.
It's fine.
And then point it straight and blow tires off.
Exactly.
Like you were just pointing out, coming through here,
right.
That's your brakes?
Coming through the bulkhead, you can see the masters behind, the brake masters behind the dash there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They've got a Willwood pedal assembly in there. There's Willwood brakes, front and rear. Those are Willwood remote masters under the dash.
All manual brake setup.
It is, yeah. They feel good. I had to do a panic stop the other day. Works good. I was glad.
Locked them up?
Yeah. Some of the stuff that we had to do, though, was like, they had a little tiny radiator in it. So this is a bigger radiator that we put in there with a bigger fan. We had to also add the intercooler, a proper intercooler. So they just had the ice box in the back, and they would just circulate ice, water.
Makes sense. Why would you? Yeah.
The other thing I found driving on the highway, like I said, it's high RPMs, but also it's got a high stall converter. So the converter is going to slip, and that's going to generate heat. They already had an oil cooler in the front here. The only thing we did was take the front license plate off and cut this bumper open so the air could flow through there. But it also helps if you look at how much space there was for air going through the radiator, there just wasn't much on the Dart.
Right.
So that opened up a whole lot more air to go through the radiator. So.
Yeah. What are some of the other things you did?
So we did have to run new fuel lines. Similarly, they had a 5-gallon fuel cell in the back, and it was running E85, So now we have a 20-gallon fuel cell in the back. So we had to just work within their frame rail. So you'll see when we open that up that the fuel cells, it's raised from where we would normally have it sitting because they already had like a support frame under that was for a smaller tank.
Right, you didn't want to go cutting down apart.
I didn't want to go cut the car up too much. I was a fan of the show when it was on. I wanted to kind of keep it the way it is, but just be able to drive it around.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it says it right on the side of the damn car. It's
a cool history. I'm a fan of both shows too. I love the roadkill stuff. So it was a really cool episode where those two shows crossed paths with this car and the other.
Who ended up winning?
Spoiler alert, it was Jake.
This car did, yeah.
It did, okay.
Yeah, and they were running Woodward Avenue or something. So this car ran there, and even on that street surface, it lifted the front tires. So you can
really?
Yeah. But it had full slicks and front bias plies. So now it's got street tires on it. That's one of the things that we did have to do. These are radials. I still wanted to have traction, obviously, so these are drag radials, Mickey Thompson's front and rear.
That is a skinny sucker. Do you know the size?
I don't know the size of these, but these are 29 by 15 for a 15. So it's 29, 15, 15s. It's probably a little bit bigger than 355s.
Wow. So it's obviously cut and tubbed back there, right?
Right.
And then narrowed rear end?
Yes.
What's with the white stripe?
On these, I just put the white stripes at the valve stem. So
Yeah.
if it winds up being off, then I know it's slipping on the wheel, and then we might look at some beadlocks or something. But
Let's pop this up. Is it a whole lift off or is it still
so
latched?
it was a lift off, but this deck lid, it's got to weigh 60 pounds. I need to be able to drive to a gas station and lift this and fill it up by myself.
So you guys did that also.
So these hinges are off of a Mini Cooper, classic Mini Cooper. If you think of the doors on a Mini Cooper, they're not straight up and down. They've got a curve to it, and this deck lid has a curve to it. But the hinges have to go straight up and down despite the curve.
Yeah.
So it just happens that Mini Cooper hinges work on this.
That is.
So now I can just lift it, and you got your ratty hood prop stick.
Hell yeah.
Broom handle stick that you can put it on there. So that's the ice chest for the intercooler. We left that in there, so now it's just a reservoir for the intercooler. We can put ice in it if we go to the drag strip. All this aluminum and the tubs and everything, that's all Gas Monkey.
Got it.
And then this is the new fuel cell that we put in it by Fuel Safe. It has a radium fuel cell drop-in. Cool thing with this is it's basically a swirl pot. And so it has a fuel pump that pumps fuel from this tank into this, a low pressure pump. And then it has a HELLCAT specific high pressure pump that pumps from here into the tank. So the idea is the fuel in the fuel cell, even if it gets low and it would be sloshing around and maybe not get on the pickup, that anytime it can pick it up, it puts it into here, and then
that's where it's feeding the engine is from that secondary.
Yeah, so if you see we got wires here, there's actually two fuel pumps in this tank, a low pressure and a high pressure. So the fuel pump's supposed to be good for like 900 horsepower, something like that. We had to build this, this stand basically. The old fuel cell was bolted right to the floor because we have a much larger tank now. But aside from that, we had to rewire the car also, headlights to taillights, because it didn't have brake lights, it didn't have turn signals, it didn't, right? All that stuff.
They're racing, they don't care about any of that.
Yeah.
Right.
So we had to do all of that stuff all over again.
You got a fair amount of hours into getting this car from being a drag only car to being a street car.
Yeah, and then also the full exhaust system, because obviously they just had open headers before. So it's got an X pipe with high flow cats. When I was looking at the back of the car, the rear bumper has a divot in it. And it just seemed perfect to tuck these big tailpipes.
That's super bitchin' where you put them. Dude, that's so you.
Yeah.
It really is to not go side, but to come out the back, but find a unique, interesting way that it creates flow.
If you look at that side where it's following the line of the bumper, the angle on the pipe and everything. Yeah. So yeah, I was kind of geeked out on it. You can tell. I love exhaust.
I know you do, man. I know.
I always got to do something with it. Check this out. 1987 Allstate Safe Driver. I love that that's still on the car. Yes, we are a safe driver. We'll be safe today.
Yes. I mean, obviously, look at all these safety pieces. You got a battery kill, you got, so funny, dude. I love how rad. Is this original paint on the car?
It is, yeah. All original rust stains.
Right. Wow, oh yeah, it's just pure business. That door's so damn light.
Yeah, nothing to it. We had to make door handles. It didn't have one.
Well, you put a lot of time into those.
Those, right? Those are real nice.
How many, you got as much into that as you do the headlights on your GT40? It's the one thing I've ever seen you make that I look at and go, I could do that.
Yeah. I had to learn a lot about trans brakes. In the Power Glide, the trans brake is a solenoid. So reverse is actually engaged electronically, not with your selector, which came to be actually kind of a problem in the car because the shifter that had in there before, it only went into reverse with the trans brake, with the button. So you have to hold the trans brake button, put the car into neutral or effectively get it out of drive, hold the button, and then the whole time that you're backing up, you have to hold the button and deal with the steering wheel and stuff like that. So it's kind of a pain.
Yeah.
So the other way to do it, the shifter from TCI has a reverse light switch built into it so that when the stick is in reverse, it's going to send a signal to the lights to turn them on. We're also sending a signal to the solenoid to put it into reverse.
It's not an actual reverse gear you're pulling the shifter to. You're putting the shifter there, and then it's sending signals.
It's sending
saying,
an electronic signal to the solenoid, the trans brake solenoid, saying engage the solenoid. But because there's no forward gears, it doesn't lock up like a trans brake. It just goes into reverse. So effectively, we're running reverse off of the backup lights.
Obviously, I know what a line lock is. You lock the front so you can spin the rears.
Right.
That's for your burnout, right? To heat your tires up. What's the trans brake? I know you guys are gonna laugh at me about this. I'm not a drag race guy. So
I know that a lot of people know a lot about this stuff, but there's a lot of car people that don't, and I was one of them. So I'm also learning about all of this stuff with this car.
You hear trans brake all the time associated with a drag car, but I'm like, if you got a line lock, I know you get your burnout. What the hell's the trans brake?
Yeah, so what it does, and it seems super sketchy to me, but apparently it works, is that you put it into first, you press the trans brake button, and that engages the reverse cog as well. So reverse and first are engaged at the same time. So it cannot go anywhere.
So it's like it's fighting against itself to just stay sitting.
Just bind it up. So then you give it RPMs, and then when you release that little button, reverse goes away, and it's all first, and you've already got boost. And so bang, like instantly.
That's how you get your launch, is you're already up at RPM.
Launches, yeah.
Boy, oh boy, raw as it gets in here. Huh?
Yeah, set of odometer gauges, they all work. The speedos, GPS, but you can see the back half here, all this stuff, aluminum, all put in with rivets because you can't weld it to steel. It's sealed and stuff. But like if you look at where the lines are coming through into the car and you see that little shroud or, stuff like that is just like, they didn't have to add that, but it does look nice.
They could have easily just cut a hole and let the wires come through. It's a drag car and who gives a shit, right?
Right. But that little piece, and if you look at the cage, even though it's rusty, it's all TIG welded. It's like super nice.
Yeah. Really How do they get the rust? Like, do they build this and then let it sit out in the rain for a few weeks or something? Or?
I mean, if you watch the show, all the metal in here looks nice.
Really?
Yeah, this is since 2016.
Really?
Just what
Because no windows and stuff, so it's getting moisture on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been in the garage, but it's just what happens to raw metal.
What's this, your shift light?
Yeah, my shift light's up there. It's set to 5500 right now. You can set it real easily, whatever you want, but you're supposed to shift before 65. And then we put a little switch box up there. We added a normal ignition switch. Like I said before, it had like the key fob and stuff. A couple things in here that we did, like they had the harness and the seat and stuff bolted in proper for the driver's side, but on the passenger side, the seat wasn't bolted in proper and there was no harness for the passenger, so we just matched. Got the same style harness for the passenger side and just did all that stuff proper. And that's about it with the car. It's one of the things I like about it is super, super bare bones. So much power.
Is it pretty? Because I heard you pulling in and I was up in my office. I mean, it's loud. Given that your exhaust is coming out here when you're in the cockpit, is it as loud as it sounds?
It's got the same Borla mufflers on it that we put on the Galaxy. They're a straight through design. They have a S and a bunch of packing in there. With a straight through muffler design, they do a good job muffling at lower RPMs because the gases are moving through the pipe slower. But the faster those gases move through the pipe, the louder the car gets, right? So it'll be nice and tame, idling, cruising, but if you give it the gas, it's loud. It's almost like straight pipe loud.
Got it. And then I just noticed on the steering wheel, so is this your trans brake?
Yeah, you can set them up however you want, but I have the trans brake on the steering wheel, and then the shifter has 2 buttons on it, and the top button is the line lock right now.
Oh, I see the buttons, on the back side of the shifter so you can get with your fingers.
Yeah, and then the bottom button we didn't do anything with yet.
Well, shit, let's go camera it up and drive it.
Yeah. That's the fun part.
It's gonna be rowdy, you guys. I know if you're saying something's rowdy, it's gonna be rowdy. that thing whines. God, dude. Hey, by the way, you guys, I'm gonna throw this in there. I mentioned recently when we shot that red C10 that our Fox body build is about to get underway, and it's happening with Chris and his team.
I am so excited about it. That's why I'm bugging you today. When do we get the parts?
Yes. Yes.
The whole crew's ready to tear it apart and start doing our thing as soon as we have enough pieces.
So what we're waiting for right now, this is giving you guys little insider hints at what's coming. Detroit Speed has something to do with the car. Mark Bowler Transmissions has something to do with the car. Holly's playing big with us on this. Holly's playing really amazingly big. Auto Addiction for paint and body, which is just ridiculous exciting. That's maybe half pedal, dude.
Right?
This thing, I can tell this thing's a bruiser.
It is.
Yeah.
So much fun with
Yeah.
that right foot.
Oh, there's a lot of car there, man. Holy cow, dude. Yeah, I knew there was a lot of fun in this one. That car gets down, bro.
We're cruising.
That car gets down. I don't know how like anyone couldn't be a fan of that motor when you hear that whine and you feel that torque. All your cars, but this might be the most fun one of the bunch.
You just mash the gas and then go. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah. That was fun. You're a total driver, dude. That is just a pure fun car. I mean, that's just fun. Point it straight, stand on it. Obviously, it spins the tires, that great blower whine. Just awesome. I had a blast, as I always do with Chris. And you heard us mention it, I mentioned it earlier, but now soon enough, you're gonna start seeing some build series that we're putting together to show you guys ultimately the Fox body Mustang that Chris and the team at Ruffian are building for us. I'm beyond excited about this. I promise you, this will be the trend-setting Fox body pro touring car, period. With that, I say thanks for hanging and watching what we do, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. All right, man, later.